have been actually we have been associated for quite a while now, and in fact, you have been a very inspirational personality to me, and off late also. Your support in terms of enabling the medicines and oxygen in these desperate times of COVID has been very helpful for a lot of people. So, a platform given by you on MFI IRD, I really rejoice that, and I look forward to contributing well on this particular topic. Right, I think this topic is very relevant to me because I keep talking on day in and day out about innovation as to how an innovation can change the way we think, how an innovation can change the way we work, how an innovation can change the way we work, how an innovation can change the way we sit, the way we think. So I thought, a session which is mostly addressed towards young minds and also, potential entrepreneurs. And some of you may be experts, but I'm really happy that you have joined this session. The potential earnings, which I guarantee you from this conversation or dialogue which we are going to have, are that I will try to share some details on what is the difference between innovation and invention. What are the different types of innovation? What are the challenges faced by innovators? Innovation mindset. There are some successful use cases and stories. Innovation for tomorrow as to what is trending right now. What is it that we can build upon? What is it that we can leverage? Then there are some questions which always come across, right? Okay, who will fund me, right? And how do I protect my innovation? Because that's a very tricky area. So innovation versus invention. I mean, this particular point which I added as part of discussion. The reason is because many times, right? Many times when we have conversations with people, they are very confused on whether to invent something, whether to innovate something, and they're not pretty clear as to what is an innovation and what is an invention. Well, in basic terms, when we look at the dictionary, it says innovation is an idea that has been transformed into practical reality, right? A product, a process, it can be a product such as your electric bike, it can be your laptop, your smartphone, etc. Or it can be a process. For example, your Six Sigma, for example, your Scrum Master. These are all your processes. Then you have your business concepts, right? So business concepts such as your marketplaces, your cab aggregations, etc. And then big ideas saying that, I can come up with, I can change the way people travel to space. I can travel to Mars. See, these are the things which entrepreneurs of today, some of the leading entrepreneurs, rather the most followed entrepreneurs, they talk about. And then whereas invention, right? See, invention is a very tricky area. It's not everybody's piece of cake. Okay, invention is a unique new device. For example, the light bulb, right? Your airplane, for example, your television, etc. A method, a practice, or a process developed as a result of study and experimentation. Right? There are more than 7 points on which actually I would like to talk about how invention is different from innovation. Okay, we have spoken about the meaning, right? So in the meaning itself, it is very self-explanatory. Then we would like to ask, what is innovation and what is invention, right? In very basic terms, if I have to say in one word, invention is creation of a product, and innovation is adding value to something that is already existing, right? So for example, the concept, right? So when we talk about the concept in terms of invention versus innovation, the concept, it's an original idea when it talks about invention, right? And it's working in theory. Whereas innovation is practical implementation of a new idea, right? See, quite relatable to the dictionary meaning of it. Then what are the skills required for you to innovate? See, this is another very important question. So when you have to invent something, you require specific scientific skills, right? See, without having knowledge about motors, you cannot invent a new device. Without having knowledge about appropriate software, you cannot create a new application, or you cannot create a new process. Similarly, whereas innovation when it comes to the skills, it just requires a mindset. It only requires technical, marketing, and strategic skills. I repeat again, where in terms of invention, we require scientific skills, whereas in innovation, we require marketing, technical, and strategic skills. When does an invention occur? And when does an innovation occur? An invention occurs when a new idea strikes a scientist, right? So when a scientist thought, okay, fine, you know what? Right now I'm listening to the news over radio. Then a scientist thought that same message, what the person is talking over here, over there, if audio could be broadcasted, why not video? It starts with that question, an idea that strikes him. Then there is a lot of experiment which goes into it with with the scientific skills. Whereas innovation, it occurs as a need is felt for product improvement in an existing product. Okay, I mean, I will just talk about that. So if you look at the next, if you look at this slide, it talks very specifically, I've tried to mention as to what is an invention. Invention is a creation, right? Whereas innovation is an improvisation of the product. See over here, I have tried to mention the first ever working laptop which was built. That was Epson H20. Then we moved on to the Dells, right? Then the Inspirons, and then the Alienwares. That is like a need which was required in the market for that particular innovation. Similarly, the airplane. It started with the Wright brothers. Actually, I mean, airplane, it has a much longer history, but it did not get the relevant pictures because it was a 9th century scientist. His name was Ibn Haytham. He was the one who first built a prototype of flying aircraft. But I did not have those images. But Wright brothers is something the world knows as people who invented the first motor aircraft. Then it went on to a jet. Now we have Airbus, etc. This is all being an improvisation. So it occurs. So invention occurs with an idea, whereas innovation is based on the need to improvise the product. What is invention concerned with? Right? Invention is always concerned with a single product or a process, right? Whereas innovation is a combination of products and services. See, some of the very good example is your cab aggregators, your Ola and Uber, right? See, whereas car was invented by someone else, a software application was invented by someone else, right? A geo mapping, etc., was brought in by someone else. What they did was they combined everything together. At a click of a button, you get a vehicle at your place. See, that is how invention works, right? Whereas innovation is always invention is limited to one product or idea. Innovation is just a moment. I'm very sorry. Very sorry about the commotion, guys. Some of my team members. To next, actually, what is required, right? What are the activities which involved, or who are the people who can be part of innovation, invention? Invention, it's very limited actually to research and development, whereas innovation is spread across the organization. Any single department can come and say, I have an innovative idea to do this. So for example, there is an HR function, there is a marketing function, there is a, what do you say, engineering function, there is an academic function, etc. So each one can contribute there. Whereas invention, right, when you have to invent, everyone cannot invent at the same time. So HR cannot say that I'm going to invent something new. There is specific research and there is R&D that goes into it. And like I said, it requires specific scientific skills, right? So to sum it up, right, invention can be defined as creation of a product or introduction of a process for the very first time. Whereas innovation, on the other hand, occurs if someone improves on or makes significant contribution to an existing product, process, or a service. I hope I have covered that well. I mean, in fact, the points which I could make. Now, let us talk about, before I move on, I would like to throw some light on what is required right? What is necessary to become an innovator, right? See, to become an innovator, the biggest necessity, because I am done with invention, I'm not going to talk more about it. The necessity to become an innovator is to acknowledge that the world is changing. I need to acknowledge that there is a new technology called blockchain that is a shared ledger that has so many possibilities. I need to acknowledge that there is, what do you say, new technology, the artificial intelligence, which has machine learning and deep learning that can learn by itself, that can, help me in automating most of my process. I need to understand, I need to accept that the world is changing. Then I need to be ready for the change, right? If I have to be innovator, the necessity, I need to be ready to accept that particular change. And third, who can be an innovator, right? A person who leads that particular change. The person who leads that particular change is an innovator. See, having said that, I mean, I have spoken a lot of positive about innovation rather than invention. So we should not downplay the importance of invention. See, documenting, protecting, leveraging inventions is a cornerstone of invention. The patent process, the legal systems around the world recognize the rights of an inventor that help them by establishing a system which allows them the opportunity to exploit their inventions for financial gain for a given period of time. See, invention right owners can produce products without others blatantly copying it. See, that is one thing very good about it. In fact, I was associated with one such company whom no one has been able to replicate till date. So that is Smart Pools. So they have developed this LAPS technology. So laminar aqua propulsion system. We'll talk about that in some of the use cases, right? Whereas invention has right owners can produce licenses. They can actually partners with others for development and other work. Whereas innovation, guys, I mean, as much as we talk positive about it, or as much as we say that the skills, very minimum skills are required for it, it is a difficult art, right? In most cases, it's a combination of inventions along with use, behavior, and business models. See, finding a single person with technical skills to invent and understand or a user behavior and consumption and the business background, and to understand the economics as well, and dependencies of getting the invention in the market in a sustainable and profitable manner is very, very rare. It is almost close to zero, right? So although we hear a lot about innovation in terms of technology, although it is true that technology innovation has been and will likely continue, right? The most obvious form of innovation comes from variety of other forms too, right? So what we can do is what we have to think is that not think small over here when we talk about invention versus innovation. See, both have their own importance. Whereas innovation requires less skills, whereas invention requires subject-specific skills. I want to move on from that topic because it is stretching. People talk about what are the different types of innovation which are there. See, if you personally ask me, there are no types of innovation. No one can define innovation into specific brackets. Whereas there is an innovation metric which is being built by researchers. We say there is one type of innovation is a sustaining innovation, where a significant improvement on a product that aims to sustain the position in an existing market, right? Whereas an incremental innovation is a gradual, continuous improvement on existing products and services. And then we have very disruptive innovation. Everyone wants to be disruptive. There is no easy way around it. We'll discuss this in detail. The technology or new business model that disrupts the existing market. Then radical, it's a technological breakthrough that transforms industries, often creates a new market, right? So these are, for example, electricity, it created a new market. Mobile phones, it created a new market. Your what you say, your smartphones, it created a new market. For example, someone invented an operating system, right? That created a new market. The World Wide Web was created, it created a new market, right? So So I'm going to first talk about the most common ways to classify, right? And then we will actually, discuss about some of the tips how to get started and managing the innovation. Like I said, innovation, there is no limit how you can categorize it. It can be categorized in many ways. Some of those categorizations are more or less overlapping. See, if you see over here, an incremental and sustaining, they are overlapping, and disruptive and radical, they sometimes overlap. See, one way to categorize the innovation is to classify it based on two dimensions. The first dimension, the technology it uses. I hope I'm not too fast. You can let me know to slow down. So, based on two dimensions, one is the technology it uses and the market it operates in. We can use the innovation matrix, right? See, which is over here, to visualize the most common type of innovation. See, most innovations are incremental, gradual, and continuous improvements on existing concepts. So let us talk about incremental innovations. See, incremental innovations are just a little bit better than previous version of a product or a service, or has slight variations on an existing product formulation or service delivery method, right? See, the products can be made smaller, easier to use, or more attractive without changing the core functionality of it. And services can be made more efficient through consistent improvement. So some of the good examples, see, for example, your microprocessors for now. See, for example, your laptops, your camera, right? So all these were very large devices when they started. And then they converted into much smaller, much mobile, much compact to use, and it improved over a period of time, right? See, the product or service may appeal to a larger mainstream market if you're capable of providing the same functionalities and value at a lower cost, right? See what Windows 95 had, right? Windows 98 did that with much better. What Windows 98 had, Windows ME enhanced that. Then Windows XP came. It changed the entire world. I'm sure some of the youngsters over here would have not even heard about, not even seen Windows XP in live, right? See, majority of some of the students who have joined. So Windows XP was the operating system before Vista. Vista was another opportunity which we had, which we learned from. We'll discuss that also in the coming slides, right? So if we talk about incremental innovation, right? I've not completed that. See, television is a classic example of both these scenarios. It is commonly and it is constantly improved, and there are new models available while the core idea and the components almost remain the same, right? The mainstream customer can, for example, have a 50-inch LED television with just a couple of $100, while more demanding customers, right? See, for example, based on their need, they can have a 75-inch OLED TV, right? So that actually is what's convenient about incremental innovation is that it is often easy to sell because you don't need to explain the key principles of your product. People are already familiar with this, with the way it works, right? And a possible downside of is that incremental innovations do not necessarily make a huge impact because they are often just slightly better than what is already out there. See, for example, I will say I am using this particular mobile phone, and there is a new mobile phone with a better processor, with a better camera, which is launched in the market. I would say, no, I think this is good enough for me. I can receive calls, I can use my messages, I can attend meetings, I can access my email, etc. Right? So there is always a risk, right, over here when we talk about incremental of over complicating the products and adding too many features no one wants to pay for, right? And thus you shouldn't ignore the customers who just want a low-cost alternative of your product unless you specifically choose to target the more demanding customer segment and to provide them with premium products. Another risk which is related to incremental innovation is that the market may and will change at some point because of disruption. If that change is the case, relying on just incremental innovation isn't going to be enough to keep up with the changes. Thus, important to focus on simultaneously improving the core business while also looking for new ways to create value by searching for new business models and working on disruptive innovation. Now, incremental innovation, I just want to share one example, right, from my experience I've come across. See, there was one particular company which made huge waves, became very popular within a short period of time during the early 2011, 2012. It went on till 2013 and 14, but 2015 it declined. See, it was a mobile phone manufacturer, that was Micromax, right? See, Micromax, actually what they did was they first launched the canvas. All right, they said their value was very good. They said, I am going to give you a low cost alternative to other smartphones. Okay, and they did a mistake, right? Like I said, the risk of getting overtaken by a disruption in the market. The Micromax is a classical example of why innovation, your research and development, etc., is very important for an organization. What they did was they were rebranding phones from other manufacturers. For example, they were manufacturing units in China. They were procuring, rebranding, and selling it. So there was a product, there was a feature improvement from the manufacturer. They improved their feature, right? Throughout their product line until the Jio, right? Jio 4G came into picture. They only focused on 3G mobiles, right? They only had 2G and 3G phones. When Jio 4G network came, right? HTC was ready for it. Your Nokia was ready for it. Samsung was way ready for it. MI was already ready for it, whereas Micromax was not ready for it. It was taken by shock by the disruption which came in the market, right? And the sales collapsed badly. It was one of the top mobile companies in India. It went down to becoming one of the companies which actually doesn't exist on the market share map today, right? So I just thought it's a good example, a good case study I could mention to you, so that we can always focus on incremental innovation while keeping in mind that there may be a disruption which will be coming. So now, I mean, I would like to talk about in detail about the disruptive innovation. See, everyone wants to bring in disruptive innovation. Everyone says, right? It's a what do you say? I want to bring a new concept. I want to bring in a product or service that has a new value network, either by entering an existing market or completely creating a new market. Now, I'll tell you an example before I get into it. See, for example, Zomato was a very good example of this. Zomato was one of the first restaurant aggregator portals in India, right? So what they did was, when they saw that there is a delivery network which is increasing because of e-commerce, they leverage the delivery network. They create their own fleet for delivery, and they actually they created a disruption. Then we had the Swiggy, right, which came along the same time. They also did the same thing, used the restaurant aggregation business, and then they disrupted the market with door-to-door service. Today, if you see, during the times of lockdown, you see many individuals, right, many individual youngsters and a lot of people, they are employed because of this disruption, right? See, disruptive innovation, it is get into the basics of it. It is a concept. It was introduced by Professor Academics and Business Consultant Clayton Christian. It was first in an HBR article on his book called Innovator's Dilemma. Right? See, in the beginning, the disruptive innovations, they have a lower performance when measured to the traditional value metrics. But the different aspects that are valued by small segment of market. See, these type of innovations are often capable of turning non-customers into customers, but do not necessarily appeal to the need and preference of mainstream customers, at least not just yet. See, for example, about 10 years ago, I would have not thought that, I can pick up my app, book a lunch. Let's say I want to eat rice today, I book a rice and the person brings the rice. I want to eat dosa for my breakfast, I click a button. So many things are available, right? So, I mean, people, like I said, the mindset, people were not ready for it. So it had very slow growth in the early days. But now, due to the market change, right, due to the change in the environment, you see what has happened, right? There is an increase of more than 4,000% in orders on Grofers. That is a your grocery delivery side, right? Because of this COVID pandemic, see, no one wants to go and stand in the queues, right? They use Grofers now, they use the big baskets, they use all the groceries, your Amazon groceries, your Flipkart pantry. See, these were all improvisation of the, the grocery delivery. You know, what was the first innovation which came in grocery delivery? It was that the grocery store guy said, "Hey, you know what? You come and tell me what you want. I will, what do you say, send my boy who will bring a bag and deliver to your house." I'm sure many of us relate to this. That was an innovation at that point in time, guys. Now you see at a click of a button, you get it at your doorstep. You can select what you want, the quantity, etc., etc. You don't even have to go to that particular person's shop, right? And the same person can also be associated with the pantry and other businesses and other marketplaces online. Of course, it comes as a boon for few, and what do you say, as a pain for a lot of them. But again, I mean, that is the way a human life becomes easy. And that is what disruptive technologies is all about. And disruptive innovation is not easy. It is what makes it difficult is that
भैया तो सुबह मुझे नहीं नहाए, अब बोलो कहाँ गए हैं तुम लोग, बहुत मिनटों में नहा दो, पानी खत्म हो जाता है।
कपड़े
कुर्ता मशीन में पड़ा है,
पैसे उसी में थे।
नहीं तो
excuse me. I would request you to put in mute. In case if there is question answers, we can do it towards the end. Thank you. Right. So I was talking about when we talk about disruptive, right? Everyone wants to make disruptive technology. What do you say? Innovation. See over here in the matrix, many people they will only talk about disruptive innovation because it will be first time in the market. It will change the way people think. But this type of innovation is very difficult because it challenges the very core of established businesses, established process, established products, right? See, when decision making related to the existing businesses are there, when I am very comfortable, right, going to the local store, I'm telling him, you send me the groceries. Why would I need an app, right? Now the COVID pandemic, I have to use an app. I have no other choice, right? So the disruptive innovation, they fail to adjust to the new competition because they are too focused on optimizing the existing business offering or the business model that has proven to be successful in the market so far, right? So I was just talking about, your Micromax. It falls in this area as well, right? See, they were too busy. They were too busy talking only about, the products which they have, and they were only focusing on that. They never focused on R&D. They never focused on bringing 4G when when there was entire market was getting ready for it, right? So at this point, the new entrants, right? So that are already delivering an alternative solution that requires new capabilities. The traditional companies does not necessarily have. Eventually, they are adding things that are mainstream customers want. So I will tell you a good example of that is an Amazon, right? See, what was Amazon? Amazon was an e-commerce website. Now, if you look at Amazon as a company, as an enterprise, it is into everything. It is into everything which a customer wants. They are getting into it. So, for example, what happens, right? So, Netflix created an online streaming service. Now, mainstream customers, everyone wanted it. Amazon said, you know what, this is a business opportunity. I can bring a disruption in the e-commerce sector. I can use the existing customer base, and I can start a product called Amazon Prime. Guys, I mean, the young entrepreneurs or the young minds in this conference, they may be thinking as to why I am talking so much about these big companies. Why not about what young minds could do? Believe me, by the end of this session, I promise you that I'll add enough value so that you can think of innovation yourself rather than just stories of the big companies. Why it is important to talk about the big companies is because they are because they have set such high standards, right? So let's talk about the Tesla. Tesla, for example, Tesla has different capabilities compared to more than traditional car manufacturers, right? See, it has its patented software, it has its battery technology, and the ability to iterate quickly. That capabilities that traditional car manufacturers are not very good at, right? See, for example, I can't expect Maruti Suzuki to add the same kind of software and battery technology which Tesla has.
Let's wait for a few minutes. Looks like Shasal bhai is facing some technical problem.
CD or the DVD, right? So despite the connotation, right, the disruption usually happens abruptly. So this we need to learn about the disruptive innovation. It happens very abruptly. The SaaS business model, right? For that example, see, I'm sure many of the software professionals are here. The SaaS business model, for example, was not very successful when it was introduced in the beginnings of 2000s. But gradually, it has become a standard in the past 20 years. Now, if you see, everything is over SaaS, right? And on-premise is something very, very less companies, highly secure organization prefer on-premise solutions. To avoid being disrupted, you have to keep an eye on new entrants in the market. See, the competition analysis and keeping an eye on your competition is very important, and how they do things. So, for example, to talk about is your MI mobile versus your traditional players. See, for example, Nokia rejected Android, and they paid a very big price. They were the market leaders across the world, and they went down to really not existing when it comes to the market share game. Now, one good new entrant who really changed the way mobile phone or smartphone is used is your MI, the Xiaomi. What they did was they kept on improving. They disrupted the market with one particular offering. Their offering was whatever other players are giving you, I will give it to you at the lowest price and better quality, or the same quality. They say that if an iPhone is offering you 12 megapixel camera, I will give you 48 megapixel camera. If Samsung is offering you 48, I will give you 108 megapixel camera at a lower price. That is the kind of disruption the MI has brought, right? See, for example, so instead of just relying on your past success, right, we need to serve, and we need to put a lot of time and effort into your R&D segment and your most profitable customer segment to understand what these customers need. You should also work on business model innovation, right? When we talk about disruptive innovation, you need to work on business model innovation to discover new profit centers, and then also to create something which is very appealing to the market in the near future, right? So that is about, from the innovation metric, I've covered three important and most commonly used, two most commonly used type of innovations. The next, commonly talked about type of innovation. The next I would like to talk a little bit about sustaining innovation, right? Sustaining innovation, guys, is the very opposite of disruptive innovation. As it exists in the current market, and instead of creating a new value of network, it improves and grows the existing ones by satisfying the needs of the customer. Just like incremental innovation, the product performance of sustaining innovation is made slightly better with every iteration, reducing the defects. So this applies to the online mobile apps, right? See, the crash, the bugs, etc. These are fixed time and again. Similar to your website, your e-commerce website, your mobile phones, etc. Whatever was the defect. For example, the previous iteration of this 5G phone didn't have a 3.5 mm jack. The first iteration. Now they have added it so that we can use the most commonly available type of headphones and speakers, right? And also, just like the incremental innovation, the product performance of sustaining innovation is made slightly better with every iteration. It works on reducing the defects, right? And it may as well be cheaper if it leads to higher volumes. You understand, this is actually a game of volumes over here when we talk about sustaining an innovation, right? So when we want to sustain in the market, you focus on enhancing your user base and reducing your cost. That what happens is that higher volumes lead to higher absolute profits. See, traditional business methods and sustainable innovations are often sufficient because they are most profitable and the risks are very lower. On the other hand, typically enable top line growth, large market share growth, or creation of entirely new market, but are not typically profitable for a long time because it makes sense for disruptors to invest heavily in growth. Sustaining innovations in turn continue to grow the market slowly, but no longer in the same proportion. At this time, to focus shift or to increase the profits. See, for example, once disruptive, currently sustaining and profitable innovation, right? See, I mean, when we talk about something, a particular series which has been existing, which has been going on for a very long time successfully is iPhone, where the recent versions of the iPhone, right, they appeal to the same customer segment and they do not create new value networks at all. They don't focus on new value network at all. They appeal to the same customer segment. As a criticism of lack of innovativeness of new iPhone, it has increased. I mean, but the company's profits have grown at the same pace or better pace. If you look at it now, iPhone, when what it offers, the same thing a Samsung or a MI offers at a better price. What has happened is iPhone, it was once a disruptive innovation, right? And then it turned into a sustaining innovation. Now you see impact on the market, right? Sustaining innovation also has a high impact. That's the reason I'm still on the slide. And disruptive innovation also has a very high impact. Then next, we'll talk about the last from the innovation metrics, which is commonly used, is the radical innovation. It is a rare, but it has similar characteristics to disruptive innovation. But it is different in a way that simultaneously it uses revolutionary technology and new business models. See, radical innovation, it solves a global problem, addresses needs in completely new ways that we are not used to, and even provides solution to meet the problem we didn't know we had, completely transforming the market or the entire economy. One such example is the 4G technology, right? When the 4G technology came, the market didn't know that we needed, right? It was a radical innovation which came in a very disruptive manner. Like I said, there are the characteristics of disruptive and radical are very similar. Right? Because radical innovation is so different from what people are used to. It does usually face initially, right, a very big resistance. These type of innovations are typically require a lot of time and technological development before they are ready for the mainstream use. So, and also a similar thing happened with your Ola cabs as well. Initially, it was not a very profitable model. What they had to do was they had to bring in a concept. I mean, I'm sure, if Brother Saif gives me time, I could cover that separately. They had to use the cost of customer acquisition was very high initially, right? So if we look at their annual reports, we can find out that cost of acquiring one Ola customer was more than 5,000 rupees initially, right? That is actually declined over a period of time substantially. But what is it's created? It's COC to LTV, right? So the lifetime value of the customer has increased. So initially, this kind of models, they face resistance because not everyone is ready for it. They say, you know what, why should a customer pay 50 rupees to travel for 2 kilometers, right? Or 4 kilometers, he's just being paid 50 rupees. Whereas the auto guy charges 60 rupees. Whereas if the same person uses a traditional cab, right, it would the traditional cab guy would take nothing less than 1,000 rupees. The same thing was reduced to 50, right? It did face resistance, but as the result is right in front of us. Is Ola Cab, the cab aggregator, right? It was one of the most simple business models and the most complex business model on the ground. Simple business model because it is very easy to build an app. right? See, there is actually source code of this app is available very easily in the market. Or even if 4 developers come together, they can build this particular app within the span of a month, right? Whereas on ground, what work is required, right? See, there was an innovation in that. What they did was they reached out to the drivers. They said, hey, you know what? Customers are not coming. You're not getting, what do you say? Not getting enough orders per day. You know, you're not having enough business. Don't worry, I will give you that business, right? I will give you that business, and every trip you complete, I'll give you 500 rupees incentives. The customer is paying 50 rupees, but they were paying 500 rupees. See, think guys, what kind of radical change they brought to the market, right? See, in terms of the cost of customer acquisition, they crossed their all limits, right? But the lifetime value of those customers was much higher compared to the initial cost what they spent it, right? And so I think I've spoken. So that is about the radical innovation, guys. I mean, like I started saying by saying that innovation cannot be limited to these 4 types, right? There are many forms of innovation, right? I cannot by myself say that would you say these, you know, all the innovations can fit into this, right? See, many brothers over here, many brothers and sisters over here, you are from different fields. You may talk about innovation in my field. You know what, I did this innovation, it does not fall under these categories. Of course it cannot, because innovation types have no limit at all. See, when we talk about innovation, you can talk about a social innovation, you can talk about innovation in terms of the network, the innovation in terms of the profit model, innovation in terms of technology, innovation in terms of the whole structure itself, the services which we provide, and innovation in that. Services, I just want to give you guys an example, because I really like this example a lot. In fact, in my personal or professional development, this example has played a very important role. So back in 2004, I was learning about all the computer companies. When I started working for Dell, it was around 2005. I was reading the history of Dell, right? See, before Dell computers, which came in 1984, we had the IBMs, right? We had your Epsons, etc. Right? What different did Dell do? Right? Dell only focused on this particular aspect of the service. What a fat boy from Texas, he came to you, he came to people, he said, hey, you know what? You don't have to buy whatever is readily available, IBM is giving you, or what do you say, other manufacturers are giving you. You tell me what you want, I'll customize the computers for you accordingly. You understand, right? What kind of a disruption it had, what kind of innovative thought that was. He used $2,000 from his father. He purchased old IBM computers. He just said, okay, fine, you want an 8 GB RAM? Oh, sorry, at that time it was just hardly 64 MB RAM. You want 126 MB RAM? I'm going to give it to you, right? You don't have to, what do you say, buy what is predefined by the manufacturer. So this is what disruption which Dell brought in terms of service, right? It never had its own manufacturing. They always buy parts from everyone else, they assemble it. What a beautiful model to learn from, right, guys? It is like someone else is selling, right? We will hear about some of the good examples. I have a lot of good examples lined up to talk about who have changed the way we think, right? Say, for example, product performance. Now, product performance, a very funny example I would want to share on a lighter note is Internet Explorer versus Google Chrome, or Internet Explorer versus Mozilla Firefox. I'm sure many of you agree with me over here that Internet Explorer's product performance was not up to the mark when it launched. This was identified very quickly by Mozilla Firefox, and then by your Google Chrome and Opera and UC and whatnot browsers. They said, you know what, we will give you much faster product. No problem. You're using Microsoft's operating system. We will make a browser that is compatible with the Microsoft, and we'll compete with them only. Think about it, guys. I mean, who can think about, okay, you know what, someone is already running a business. I will buy things from, you know, I will leverage his own space, and I'll compete with them only. Right, so that is a good example I can think of in terms of product performance. And then in terms of the channel marketing, right? See, Nokia had Nokia's channel marketing model was one of the very successful, but they never paid enough dividends to the distributors. the margins Nokia was giving were hardly in single digits to the distributors. As a reason, the distributors could never run any offer. Distributors could only sell because there was a demand, right? They had to sell in volume. Those phones used to sell, but that particular channel was actually manipulated very well by Oppo and Vivo. Right, guys, today's time, Oppo and Vivo give the highest amount of profit share compared to any other, mobile manufacturing manufacturing companies, right? See, similarly, guys, when it comes to your social, in the social space, we are seeing a lot of different innovations which are coming up. What happens? Facebook came where you could add friends, you could, message them, and then, you could share your status, etc. It kept improvising again and again. And in an incremental value, what it did, Facebook added, a service where you could, go live and talk to your audience. Now, Facebook has added another feature, which I'm not sure many are aware about, is that in case if you have more than 1,500 or 2,000 users on your particular page, and if you run live videos, you can monetize that. People can pay, and people can watch your videos on Facebook. Right, so that is a social innovation which Facebook has brought in. Then innovation in terms of brand, creating that particular brand value, right? Saying that my brand, you will always get the same thing. So good examples of that are your, your fast food chains. Some of them which are, why do people keep going to 5-star chicken, which is opening in every nook and corner of the city, rather than going to a local shop? So, for example, there is a Rahman's Chicken Center. Okay, I'm talking about near the area where I used to live, Rahman's Chicken Center, and there is now a newly opened 5-star chicken over there. More people are ordering food from 5-star chicken than from Rahman's Chicken Center. Why? Because that person has created a brand. He says that doesn't matter where you go, okay, which part of the city you go, you order a product from 5-star chicken, their product will look exactly the same. It will taste exactly the same. Right? That's a very beautiful innovation. Guys, they didn't do anything complex. It is not at all a complex model. They said that we will have common infrastructure, right? I will buy the same type of table for everybody. I will have same type of board for everybody. I will have common price for everybody, right? And I have the same kitchen machinery. I will have a deep fryer over there, okay, which is, operated by gas or electricity. Then I'll have, the mixture of the recipe, right? The masala that I will provide to you. What is great innovation about it? You tell me, right? But has it disrupted? Yes, of course. It has created a lot of changes in the market. I'm sure many of you agree with me on that. I'm sure many of you are consumers of this particular service. So similarly, profit model, guys, right? Profit model, many ways we can never think about how is this company making profit. See, for example, Cred. I'm sure many of you would have heard about this. Cred was launched by one of the CEOs of a previously acquired company. It immediately got 30 million of funding from the venture capitalist in its early stages, the seed funding, and then it went on. No one understood initially as to what their profit model was. There were so many speculative articles saying that this could be their profit model, that could be their profit model. And this person's profit model is offering services now. This person is offering lending services and other things. I'm sure, may not be very big fan of their services, but these are things which are happening, right? And next about, there's the product performance, right? We spoke about the product innovation, right? See, when we talk about the product innovation, we have to, when we think about the product innovation, or when we think about any of these products, innovation types, right? We spoke about the 4 fundamental ones, which everything falls into, right? And these are some of the things which fall outside of it, or within it, or flows through it, right? Now let us talk about the, what is needed for this particular innovation. One is you need to study a few things. One is whether the market is saturated, right? If the market is saturated, what is it saturated by? One good example in Bangalore, right? See, for example, we have a lot of dental clinics. There are more dental clinics than MBBS doctors. Then what happened is that people were going to local dentists, and some were giving value. They used to come and complain, saying that this person is spoiled my teeth, that person has spoiled my teeth. Then a corporate chains came into picture. right? There were this Sapka Dentist, Axis Dental, the Clove Dental, all of this. What they did, they said that wherever you go, you will get the same service, right? I will give you highest customer satisfaction. I'll give you the same service. They already came into a saturated market and brought value into it. So guys, always think, never think that any market is saturated. Even if the market is saturated, that means there is an opportunity for you to, add value to it, right? And then you need to look at what are the things in the market. You need to just see what are the outdated technologies which are used. Now you can think about the ATMs. The ATMs are actually really using some of the outdated technology, right? So the same ATM, same click. Why can't there be a gesture recognition over there? Why can't there be a retinal detection over there? Why can't there be a face recognition over there? These are things we need to question, right? Can we as technology providers, can we as inventors think of retina scan in ATMs? Why not? If my retina is matching, then only then they'll let the door open. What is there in that, right? We need to think like that. I mean, we need to think in a very radical way. We need to think in a very disruptive way. Once we have thought, once we have come up with something like that, then we can think about incrementing it, and then then sustaining it, right? And also we need to look at undesirable change in the industry margins. So those are some of this very important aspect we need to look at when we are talking about product. And also we need to look at what is the unwillingness or inability to keep up with the global trends, right? See globally what is happening. See, for example, India was a little behind in leveraging the blockchain technology. I mean, we have to accept this, guys. I mean, we have a mindset. We'll talk about the mindset. And I would request Brother Saif Abrar to give me a little extra time because I lost some time because of the electricity. So because I have a lot of things to cover, I mean, which are very valuable. I hope that is okay, Brother Saif Abrar. And I hope everybody will be okay with that. I just need a little more time. So low customer satisfaction, you need to see where there is low customer satisfaction and how you could add value to it, right? Which are the industry where there is low customer satisfaction? Mobile phone, right? Internet service. So these are the industries. See, for example, Act Internet, Act 500, it came into picture because BSNL was not able to deliver what was required. Hardware did not have the reach. They came into a market which was which was already existing, and they created a new value over there, right? So you will also face challenges, guys. I mean, any industry, anything is not without challenges. See, some of the challenges have to do with the process of the idea itself, right? See, while other challenges are with respect to the implementation, some are more relevant to an individual level, and others are more to an organization level. So for this discussion, we can define a set of barriers, right, that can stop us from coming up with right ideas, right, and right ideation. And another set of challenges involved the fear to attempt these ideas and implementational or organizational changes, right? So guys, on that note, I would be closing as to the type of innovation. I want to conclude that though there are predefined things in which we can put our ideas, but we can never miss that there is no limits when we talk about innovation. Next, right? So I want to talk about what are the different challenges, right, that are faced by innovators. So the challenges which are faced by innovators, the first and foremost, I'm sure many of you agree with me. I mean, in my interaction with my friends and my family members who are actually, looking to venture into something new, they always fear making mistakes, right? See, think about it for a minute, right? When was the last time you participated in an innovation session? When was the last time you spoke about coming up with something new to your colleagues? What were the barriers you were facing within that time? Did they have to do with the fear of criticism that you were not discussing with others, right? Perhaps was it insecurity that, they may rob your ideas and take it forward? Were these barriers connected to the fact that some continue because right. So I would like to continue where we were talking about. So guys, we have the fear of making mistakes, like we were talking about, right? See, we were talking about the barriers. When was the last time, right? Did you have to do, what do you say, when you discuss something with your colleagues, where these barriers which you felt while talking to them, is it because you were reluctant to take an active part in such a discussion, or there are many reasons for this. If you are having this kind of thought that you will make a mistake and you will never learn, then you are facing the most common psychological barrier. This is the most common psychological barrier to innovation. While some of these barriers are relevant in many type of discussions, others are more innovation specific. Many of these barriers have to do with our common fear of making mistakes, a fear developed and cultivated by mistake phobic education systems and organization cultures. Right? Our education system now, the new education policies come in, there are some radical changes in that. But our education system is that you make a mistake, you fail. You do not score this much percentage, you fail. That is how it was. Now we have choice-based credit system that has come into picture. Then now we have, student, in fact, the recent notification which I was working on from UGC is that they have actually, given a choice for students to choose when they give exam and which stream to choose. They can, in middle of a session, they can choose some of the stream if they like, and they can move. So, the changes in the market are also enabling us to come out of these our shells, right? So guys make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If we do not make mistakes, then there is only one being that does not make mistakes, right? So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Apart from that, all of us are prone to making mistakes. So this is one barrier which a lot of innovators face. Many ideas, they die because people are afraid of losing money. People are afraid of being mocked at. People are afraid because someone may criticize. Don't think about it. Don't think about what other people would think. Think as to how this innovation, what you feel, will change the market, and have a proper study backed up. Right? Please ensure that you do a good study which backs up your claims. The next which we come across is the cognitive barriers, right? See, there are several innovation methodologies that focus on dealing with these factors and barriers. The most familiar is brainstorming. These methodologies, they employ various rules and principles designed to mitigate these fears. So you will notice that these barriers are relevant to voicing or sharing innovative ideas that we as individuals have already come up with. These barriers are serious, right? No doubt, but they have little to do with actual act of coming up with an innovative idea. These barriers relevant to that specific phase are quite different. They have less to do with our psychology and more to do with our cognitive capacity. So we need to work on our cognitive development as well in case we want to be innovative. See, because those are one of the barriers, because we cannot think out of box, right? See, when I always talk about some of my friends, they say, we need to think about some new business idea, nothing is working out in the market. Now, I give one idea. See, a lot of people, right? How many of you feel that Golgappa industry, it can be made into an industry, a Golgappa thing, a business, right? See, what happens is that you go to a local shop, he makes the Golgappa, he gives it to you. Have you ever thought that this could be made into an organized industry? It can be where anyone can make anything at home. Now we have these packets that have started coming in, right? See, that is because someone broke that cognitive barrier. They were able to think beyond, out of that, out of box. So you need to develop that ability. Only way to develop cognitive ability, guys, read as much as possible, understand the case studies which are available free of cost, and participate in a lot of knowledge sharing sessions. Read articles, try writing articles. See, I have in my experience felt that while writing something, you learn more than anything else, right? See, by reading you may forget, but when you write, your memory, your cognitive abilities develop much better. The next, guys, we have a very structural fixedness. We can take a story of of a refrigerator. I'm sure many of you have refrigerator. I want you guys to answer this question. I mean, where is the freezer in your refrigerator at home? I would request the audience to please respond. Brother Saif Abrar, you may answer. In case if you're using a refrigerator, where is the freezer in the refrigerator?
You mean the top freezer, bottom freezer model or something else?
Yes. That is what I was referring to. Right? See, I mean, actually, when the refrigerator was introduced, as an example, right? See, it was introduced in the early 20th century, right? And it replaced the ice box, right? See, this was an important invention, right? See, the simple device, it used to block the ice. But what happens is that, what do you say? This refrigerator, there is a structural fixedness in our mind. Why do I have to bend down to pick up the vegetables? Have you ever thought about it? Right? We were fixed with that top freezer, bottom, what do you say, bottom compartment, where there is, where other things, the vegetables and the fruits can be kept. We were fixed with this model for such a long period of time. Even now for that matter, people when they visit, they say, ये क्या है ऊपर जो है vegetables रख डाले नीचे freezer आ गया. Not those refrigerators do not sell because that's a kind of fixed structural fixedness which we've gotten into. Then other fears people have is with respect to the marketability of the product, whether I can reach out. So let's say that I make handmade products at home. How can I market it, guys? I mean, if you think about with an open mind, there are so many ways that you can market products in today's time. All you have to do is leverage something which is already existing, right? Why can't you leverage the marketplace which is already there? Amazon is a marketplace. Your Flipkart is a marketplace. You have your Snapdeal is a marketplace. Your Shopclues is a marketplace. OLX and your Quikr, these are all marketplaces. Why can't you market over here? So they will sell this for you. They will collect the money and they'll give it to you, right? So marketability is not a problem at all nowadays. And in fact, even for the SaaS products and the other products as well, there are many platforms that can help you with respect to marketing it. So this is one of the challenges which is faced by innovators. The next is fear of competition. It is very closely linked to fear of making mistakes, right? See, competition is always there and it will always be there, right? See, there was one particular gentleman from Northeast. I think he brought those mosquito bat. You can kill the mosquitoes with a bat by swooshing him. Now, what happened is that person was doing very well, and then the competition saw it. The competition said, okay, this person is selling at 400 rupees. I can give it at 300 rupees. How can I give it at 300 rupees? Maybe throw changes in the size, reducing the quality, etc., and market becomes saturated. Then there were some other players who came. They said that, okay, fine, in this particular, mosquito bat, I will also add a torchlight so that, if there is no power, they can put a torch and they can use that as well. Not a bad idea at all, right? So fear of competition. People fear that, that person who built initially, they were like very afraid, kya hua? I mean, we are not able to sell, people are going on eating. So that way, guys, innovators, they face fear of competitors. You have to be very wary as to what your competitors are doing. If you have to be into a business, if you have to be an innovator in the business, you have to be very aware about the market situation, the audience behavior, right? How the audience mood is shifting, whether there is a customer feedback, what is the problems they feel in your product, which can be improvised. If you have these kind of data points backing you, then the fear of competition would become a very small thing, though it will always be there. Even the biggest of brands, they have fear of competition. Then what do you say, the financial flexibility? Guys, I mean, who has financial flexibility available? It's only the big corporates or anyone who is backed by their family wealth, etc. See, for innovators who have come out of pure academics, innovators who have come out of pure ideas, it is very difficult. It is very difficult to get their finances in place. But now, actually, we have a lot of good schemes. I will talk in I don't think I have time to talk in detail, but I will definitely talk about it as to where we can get our finances from. I request Brother Saif Abrar to arrange a session only on the funding, because that happens to be one of my core specialty area, as to startup funding, etc. I'll talk about that as well in this session. So those are some of the challenges. While addressing the challenges, guys, I want to also talk about present to you this particular scale, right? So this was Doherty's scale of innovation mindset, right? So people, when we talk about challenges, right? See, the idea starts from dreaming. Then it goes into doubting. Yeah, the fear comes into picture. Then there is, a lot of the things that fear of making mistakes, those cognitive barriers, everything comes into picture. Then what happens? Either you quit or you persevere. In case you persevere, right? These are people who never surrender, right? And they follow the transformation. They face new challenges. Please understand, on the path to growth is not a small one. You will definitely face challenges. And then they become champions because they acquire deep knowledge and experience, and they gain a lot of confidence, right? I just want to give you a quick example over here from my own example. I think we should not share our own example, but Brother Saif Abrar and other brothers, they are very good public speakers, right? I am not that great on talking on topics which they are experts at, right? And how I learned that particular art is that I spend more time listening to them, right? So I used to go around with Brother Saif Abrar and other brothers. I used to just stand like this, holding my hands, listening to what they talk and how they talk. And next time I practice it, I either had a choice, right? Whether to quit that particular thing, right? Practice what we do, something which gives us peace of mind. Then the transformation phase started. I said, you go out in the way, you transform yourself. And then I cannot call myself champion because there are a lot of champions out there sitting. But I think I know I have learned that part, right? Because I never quit over there. Because it is not a field that can be left. Because we had a dream, right? We all have a dream. I'm sure many of you here understand what I'm referring to. Though I'm not being very open, I'm sure you can understand what I'm referring to, right? It is about persevering. It is about not giving up. It is about overcoming your fears. It is about overcoming your cognitive barriers. So those are some of the challenges which I had come across that innovators face. Now let us quickly talk about innovation mindset. Guys, this is a very important part of my today's session. This is something which I am very passionate about when I talk. First of all, before getting into innovation mindset, right? We need to understand as to what is a mindset, right? See, mindset are beliefs, right? These are beliefs about ourselves and our most basic qualities like intelligence, personality, or talent, right? Mindsets are attitudes which manage our actions and interactions with the world, right? Mindset, in a way of thinking about world. Allah, why is it going for UPS paper? Double connect karo. Another half an hour I need. Brother Saif, can you hear me?
Shazal bhai, no problem. We can schedule another session if you want.
Actually, the power is back. It was just because we are facing heavy rains over here. It is very uncommon compared to.
Yeah.
Because this is a very important part, sir. By actually the main part of my talk.
Right. I understand that. So it's up to you. If you want to continue, then it's fine.
Brothers are all fine. I mean, if you can give me another 20 minutes to half an hour.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you. Because the reason I went into the details was I wanted to ensure that we understand what are the things which are out there before we actually get into how we can build it.
Definitely.
Can you have one more session with fundings, sir? Bye.
Definitely. I mean, funding is something which I'm very passionate about. I talk to all the brothers most of the time about funding. In fact, I mean, I have connections with more than 400 investors across the globe. Whom I
Your
was,
wish is granted. Inshallah, we'll have soon, Shazil bhai.
Inshallah. So, I mean, if you give me a chance now, I can complete the session. I'm very sorry about these power cuts. Because I mean,
It's
it is
up to
very
you.
uncommon in Anandpur that we face power cuts.
Yeah.
Can I continue, Brother Sai?
Yeah, definitely you can.
Thank you very much. So I was talking about what a mindset is, right? So mindset, right, are beliefs. So mindset actually, about you can divide it into two things, right? What is what you believe you can do and what you believe you can't do. See, there are two types of mindset, guys. Okay, the innovators, the inventors, the business leaders, everyone, they have something called as a growth mindset, right? Whereas the people who often fail, right, they have something called as a fixed mindset. I'm sure you would have heard about growth mindset and fixed mindset. See, I'm not a motivational speaker. There are other brothers who do that very well, much better than me. But I felt, I mean, we should throw some light because we are talking about innovation mindset over here. And growth mindset, having a growth mindset is a very important aspect of innovation mindset. So growth mindset, it talks about, I can learn anything I want to do. Whereas a fixed mindset, right, it says either I'm good at it or I'm not. Whereas a growth mindset would say, when I'm frustrated, I perceive. The fixed mindset would say, when I'm frustrated, I give up. Right? So Brother Saif can relate to this. On a lighter note, I would mention when we go to meet people in Gust, actually. So someone closes the door very badly on you. You have two choices over there, right? You either get demotivated or frustrated and go back to the masjid, or, feel that, no, I have to perceive more and continue. I'm sure most of the brothers relate to that, what I'm saying, right? A growth mindset would say, I want to challenge myself. Whereas a fixed mindset would say, I don't like to be challenged. Right? A growth mindset would say, when I fall, I learn. Fixed mindset would say, when I fall, I am no good. A growth mindset would say, tell me, I will try hard. Okay? A fixed mindset will say, tell me that I'm smart. A growth mindset would say, if you succeed, I am inspired. A fixed mindset would say, if you succeed, I feel threatened. This is linked to the fear of competition, etc. Right? Finally, the growth mindset would say, my efforts and attitude determine everything. Whereas a fixed mindset would say, my abilities determine everything. Right? Now, having said that about growth and a fixed mindset, guys, I'm sure everyone would like to have a growth mindset. I'm sure, we all have some personality that is, into fixed mindset. See, for example, people don't like to be challenged. Is it like, you want to challenge me? You want to challenge me? No, right? See, if you challenge, I want to challenge myself. Be your own competition. Think, okay, you know what? The pandemic was on me. I had this Saturday, Sunday, which I spent at home. What is it that I learned? What is it that I didn't learn? What I could have done? See, I mean, I have my calendar. Every week, I try to spend 1 hour learning new technologies. 1 hour I try every Saturday in the evening. Every Saturday I try to spend 1 hour learning new technologies. So that is something which I focus on. And I also have some fixed mindset traits, right? See, no one will like saying that, you're failed at it. You can, you have to try harder. And sometimes people feel good when they are called smart. See, these are traits we find in everybody. Now, what is an innovation mindset? Right? Innovation mindset is a specific state of mind which orients human towards innovative activities. It orients you towards coming up with some new innovation. See, since mindsets are believed, people with innovation mindset share belief that innovation is needed and it is beneficial. It is beneficial to me, it is beneficial to the society, it is beneficial to the customers, it is beneficial for the technology, it is beneficial for the whole market. People with innovation mindset, they can make a difference through innovation. They feel they can make a difference through innovation. See, for example, I will share one small example. I'm sure brothers over here are from different part of India, but in Bangalore, in Fraser Town, next to one restaurant, they have kept a refrigerator where, you know, your leftover food or, you know, any food you can keep over there where poor people can come and take it from there. That's a very innovative thought, right? See, that innovative thought, because people felt with this particular thing, I can make a difference. Okay. And also people with innovation mindset, they believe, they have a strong belief that they have or they can have abilities, or even if they do not have abilities, they believe that they can develop those abilities. So it is very similar. The innovation mindset is very similar to your growth mindset, because as a human's brain is designed to develop new circuitry, because it is designed to rewire itself based on new thoughts and new behavior, right? There are few simple techniques, right, which I want to talk about, which you can quickly get started with, right? See, you need to first and foremost find quiet time every day. This is my very important, very important aspect. You need to find time every day to reflect on what you're thinking and why you are thinking. Give yourself 10 minutes per day. Make small notes, right? See, this is the way we develop an innovation mindset. Give yourself the time, okay? And when you find yourself in a fixed mindset, when you find yourself scared, when you find yourself challenged, right? Ask yourself whether it is coming from discomfort with change or fear of making a mistake. You see, I mean, all these things which are, you know, which are there, which are linked. Answer that question yourself, whether, you know, you are afraid of making a mistake, or is it a discomfort which you are having, etc. Make a note of it. Maintain a specific diary. If you want to be an innovator, please maintain a specific document which you refer time and again, which you come up on a daily basis, right? And make it a priority, guys. Like I said, I learn something new every week. I try to, at least. You make it a priority to get an innovation mindset. Thank you. We can, sorry. So, you know, you make it your priority to learn something new every day. How we can learn? You need to have your mind snacks. So snacks for the mind are your snacks for your mind are your news articles. Snacks for your mind are your research papers, etc. You need to read more, right? Try to learn something new every day. And next, you need to ask questions more often than you give answers, right? See, giving answers is very easy. See, in my experience, I have learned that every question has an answer. You ask me what is a quantum computer, I can maybe speak on it for about a minute or two, right? I'm sure there are experts who can talk for an hour. So every question has answer, but you need to reach a level where you ask questions saying that, what if, how about we do like this? How about we do in a different manner, right? And finally, you do something that stretches you beyond your current capabilities at least one time per week. Do something which stretches you beyond your current capabilities at least one time per week, guys. Please make a note as to, you know, what is it that you can, what is it that you are very comfortable doing? What is it that you are having discomfort doing? See, for example, for sales professionals, right? They come across, they actually, you know, it's very easy for them to fall from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset. A new salesman on a day one, he is very motivated, he is very, what do you say, enthusiastic and ready to go. As he hits the market, his mind changes. It's very easy for them to fall into that fixed mindset, right? So these two chemicals in your brain, serotonin and cortisol, they play a very important role, So I will come to the next about developing innovation mindset. Guys, to develop innovation mindset, you need to hear from people what are the challenges they are facing. Next, you need to create ideas to overcome those challenges, right? See, you need to hear from people, mean it includes you also. You also think, okay, this is a challenge I faced. I had to, you know, what do you say? get a car license done, I had to travel all the way from my house to an RTO, which is almost about 3 to 4 kilometers. Ask yourself that question. What if the RTO officer, what if the, what do you say, the instructor, the inspector, if they come to my house and they offer me a license, how would that sound, right? Make a note of those challenges, right? And then create ideas how you can do it, right? So you cannot just say that, you know, an RTO officer can come to your house and, you know, take a thing. You need to build a process over there, right? Maybe, you know, you can always invent that someone else, create a model of outsourcing for them, where their job also becomes easier, where consumers' job also is becoming easier. See, the Delhi government has very well started implementing that particular aspect. The government services will be delivered to home, right? And private players will play a very important role in this. The government cannot do everything by themselves. We also have to contribute and take our share in that, right? So create ideas and then deliver with action, right? See, it's a very important lesson in life is to learn that sometimes, more often, right, it is better to take action than to just have an idea which is great and then, okay, I had an idea and, you know, after a few years see that someone else is implementing. Take action. See, I mean, no problem. You have financial barriers. There are many ways we can overcome it, right? See, women entrepreneurs, I mean, you know, sisters, they can leverage this Mudra scheme. There are so many, you know, Startup India scheme. There's so many schemes from SIID, which is there. The incubation fund is there. The angel networks is there. You can leverage a lot of funding from them, and, you know, you can take things forward. So deliver with action. And so that is more or less about developing an innovation mindset, guys. I have given the points which I felt in my experience were relevant, and I have collected some of those points from the research papers which are published as to how to develop an innovation mindset. So it is to embrace creativity, it is to think big, it is to show courage, right? And it is to be open to change. And finally, think and act fast. If you wait today, tomorrow someone else will have that idea. No idea, that's why idea cannot be patented, right? So if you're thinking about an idea today, simultaneously someone else will be thinking about it as well. So what will be the difference between you and them is that to think and act fast. I'll just give you one last example of what do you say, being open to change and embracing the creativity is one application I came across last week when I was in Bangalore. I was actually looking for some of the apps to book some groceries for home. I came across something called as Magic Pen, right? They are so courageous. Okay, I mean, I was like thinking, how could they even? How outrageous is that? That they are thinking that they can deliver food, they can deliver services, they can deliver what do you say? Products which has already been dominated by Swiggy, Zomato, and Dunzo, right? I was thinking, and then when I actually booked a service from them, they were leveraging the services of Dunzo in order to offer their services. See, I mean, they have shown the courage, saying that no problem, you know, market is there, saturated, you know, someone else is using, I have no issues with that. You know what I will do? I will use them only to challenge them. See, Magic Pen is they have signed an MOU with Dunzo. Any people booking a food or any other delivery through them, what do you say? Dunzo is delivering that. That is, you know, your errand service. See, they had that courage to think about that. I mean, it sounds very outrageous, but that's how people with growth mindset are. Sometimes they are very radical. Sometimes, you know, they are completely out of box. It is beyond our understanding sometimes as to what they think, right? So I think, you know, the time is not enough to talk more about it. I would like to move on. I would like to talk about some of the stories, right? So some of the good stories and bad stories of when it comes to innovation, right? See, these are successful case studies. Because when we talk about successful case studies, there are many. I will share a few from India. I'll share one which I spoke earlier as well. The most successful case study is about iPhone series. It cannot be denied that one of the most successful case studies in terms of innovation is Apple iPhone. See, what some organizations fail to recognize, it is that it is successful is largely due to its existence in the series itself. Instead of developing and an independent product, Apple regularly improves upon existing model of iPhone, right? And releases improvements in a stylized manner, generating excitement and increased sales. Every new model is announced. Every new model is announced. There is a queue of people who are waiting to buy this, right? And moreover, they have made it a brand, a status symbol as well. Whenever we talk about innovation success story, Apple always comes first. See, there were so many differences between the two Steves, right? The founders, right? Steve Jobs and his partner Steve. They had so many differences in terms of creativity because Steve Jobs was more of a marketeer. He was more of a businessman. The other Steve was more of an inventor. And then the differences came together. And today we see one of the greatest success story in terms of innovation is Apple. Then recently in India, I myself personally, in fact, I've read a lot about this company, an app called Meesho. Meesho app is doing very well. I mean, as you think about it, what they are doing is they are using e-commerce websites, right? All the e-commerce websites, they give you affiliate marketing profit, right? So any sales happen through you or your link, you will get commission or paid for it. What they have done is that they have fostered entrepreneurs by letting users curate digital bouquets and markets and sell to their network and their social media accounts. Okay, this company has more than 2 million resellers on the platform. Now, it is very simple if I have to explain what their model is. It's a very beautiful model, right? It's a good case study to understand from. They're saying that Amazon is giving me commission if someone buys a product through my link. Flipkart is giving me commission. Zoho is giving me affiliate commission. What do you say? Your other CRMs are giving me commission. Google is giving me commission. Everyone. What they did was they leveraged all the e-commerce. They told people at home or people who are working, saying that in your office, just send this product to anyone. Let them order through you. What I'll do is I'll pay you a commission in that. Over here, delivery is taken care by them, right? All you're doing is spreading the message and becoming an entrepreneur. And many people are making good money out of it. I mean, there are so many good stories. I'm sure many of us come across Meesho over here, which is actually a lot of women entrepreneurs are leveraging from. And then another good case study is Udaan. Udaan is a B2B marketplace where there are more than 2 million retailers across 900 cities where you can buy directly from manufacturers. Right? See, it's mobile app. It connects more than 1.5 lakh traders, wholesalers and retailers in India. Right? Sorry, 1.5 million. It enables small and medium sized businesses to do business directly with manufacturers. See, right now the electronics and consumer goods, right, guys, are for sale on app. And the company founded by 3 former Flipkart employees. They had that growth mindset. They had that innovation mindset. They said if Flipkart is, getting it from some local people, it is getting from companies and it is selling there, why not we create something for the local shops? See, for example, I mean, I was talking to one of the cycle shop owners near Hennur, so in Bangalore. So he was saying, sir, I mean, you know what, earlier I had to go to City Market, I had to go to Surat, I had to go to Mumbai, I had to go to so many manufacturing places to find cycles wherever it is cheap and get. Now at a click of a button, I order cycles, whichever is in demand, whichever my customers want. I just put a poster, they come and say they like it, I'll order within a week I get, and I start selling it. So Udaan is one beautiful model you can think about. See, I mean, it was Flipkart's own employees. And the Flipkart founders, the Bansals, they were Amazon's employees. Amazon was a global market. Flipkart created an India market. Uber was a global market. Ola created an India market, right? So Flipkart is a B2C marketplace, whereas Udaan became a B2B marketplace, right? The next services company which is doing good case study, very innovative business model I've come across is Urban Company, a marketplace for freelance labor for home services, right? See, the platform helps offline service workers who had traditionally relied on finding employment through middlemen or through word of mouth for more work. See, for example, so what happens is that they give 80 to 90% of the commission or the fee, whatever is received from customers, to these people. So for example, earlier, if I had to find some AC mechanic, or if I had to find someone who can repair a refrigerator, I had to ask some brothers, कि भाई कोई अच्छा आदमी है तो भेज दो, who can do who can fix my refrigerator, who can fix my computer. Now I can find that online. Right now, due to COVID pandemic, now they have started sending barbers also to home. Unlucky that we don't have it in Anantapur, and my hair has grown a lot. So, but in Bangalore and metro cities, life has become so easy, right? All these offline labors were dependent on word of mouth. Now, actually, that word of mouth is centralized in form of reviews, and their fee. Different people used to collect different fee, and it is standardized now. That is a wonderful story, and this market has a lot of opportunities. No market is saturated. There is a lot of opportunities in this market. There's a lot of things that can be brought into it. For example, your mechanics, etc., local mechanics, a lot of things can be brought into this particular framework. And next, another success story or a very innovative business model was from Pure, right? So they were making quality. They're making quality gym chain and wellness offerings eligible. Making it more easy for people to find, making it more affordable for people, right? And they are now they made it along with mental health tools and meal plans, etc. So PureFit was another good business model, and another one is Porter. Porter is something which we can get very easily relate to. Someone thought about it. That's the reason they came up with this idea, right? Porter mein, what happened? See, this local tempo walas, your your vehicle ape, those vehicle walas. All these people used to charge according to their will and wish, right? And they were very difficult to find. You have to go stand. This is a tempo stand. That is a tempo stand. No. What Porter did, they said that if Ola can bring a car to a customer's house, why can't I bring a tempo to customer's house to shift the goods and provide them with that services at prices which are centralized. Okay, and also in turn, guys, this creates a lot of employment for people, for these tempo people, right? Earlier it was so difficult. People used to not go to them saying that they demand very high, and they used to demand very high because they never used to have that business, because only known people used to call known people, and only that business used to happen. But Porter has made that very big. I'm sure there are many other things. See, for example, hiring of JCBs and your tractors, I think no one has done that. In agriculture fields, those are something which are required. Next thing, guys, some of the successful stories. The reason I'm mentioning these stories is because how different thoughts they brought in and they started working on it, right? So next was your MedLife, your Healthians, and your Farm Easy apps. What we had to do was earlier we had to go to healthcare diagnostic centers. In the diagnostic centers, they used to charge for HbA1c separate charge, for BBC separate charge, for my lipid profile there is a separate charge, for my diabetic profile there is a separate charge, for my liver function test there is a separate charge. What they said, sir, we'll make a package. We'll tie up with the labs. Our technician will come to your house. You don't have to go waiting to give your blood sample. They will come to your house, they will collect the samples, and they will get the test, and the report will be delivered to you on your mobile. If you want a written copy also, we'll send it over. Beautiful, right? Guys, this is innovative. And are they creating their own labs? No, they're not. They're using someone else's labs. They're telling the lab people, I'm giving you volume business, you better give me a lower rates. And the lab guy has no other choice but to do that, because he will be losing business. If not one lab, other lab will get accustomed to it. Guys, I think I've spoken a lot about it. So I've spoken a lot about good success stories. There are a few success stories which I would personally want to talk about. One is actually Smart Pools. The reason I didn't use it earlier is because it is a company which I am consulting. It's a Malaysian company. They actually have developed something called as LAMPS, Laminar Aqua Propulsion System. Right? So where water, like river water, see swimming pool, how is it different from swimming pool is you can build it in a small room. That is a value they created. That is a very innovative thing that they did. They said, in a room, you give me a small room, 4x8, I'll create a swimming pool for you. But the best part is you can never swim from one end to the other, because I'm creating a real river. and only I can do it because I have patented the technology. This is what they say, right? And the next is the Innovation University, which I'm associated with, which I want to talk about, where I'm sitting right now. Guys, when this Innovation University was formulated, we thought we should make something which is not existing anywhere, right? Everyone talks about innovation. Everyone is doing innovation. See, Harvard is doing innovation. In India, we have IITs, your IIMs, your Jamias, your AMUs. All of them are talking. They are doing something innovative or the other. They are incubators who are supporting them, etc., etc. But when we started building an innovation university, we say we should target all the aspects. One is innovation in terms of the curriculum. Our curriculum is very old, right? We have to bring change in the curriculum. UGC gives me 20%, 30% leeway as a private university to change my curriculum. What we have done is that along with giving a degree to the students, we have started giving an add-on diploma, right? Let's say you do BTech computer science over here, I'll give you an add-on diploma in artificial intelligence. I'll give you an add-on diploma in blockchain. I will give you an add-on diploma in, your cybersecurity, your data science, which will make you immediately employable. And this add-on diploma will not be delivered by me. It would be delivered by the industry itself. We made a tie-up with IBM. IBM is coming and teaching my students now how to build artificial intelligence applications, how to studying Python is taught by IBM over here, right? So that is about innovation in terms of curriculum, innovation in terms of key skills we have brought in, where we teach children key skills specifically as form of their curriculum, as part of their curriculum, and give academic credits we have assigned to that so that children do not lose interest to it. And then we have innovation in terms of culture. We have incubator, we have incubation cell where ideas are incubated and innovators are groomed. I myself personally am guiding around 18 innovators, innovators and young entrepreneurs who have come up with great products. For example, this young girl, I mean, you can check on our World Forum for Education. Yesterday, 2 stories came out. One is of Syed Tasmiya Sultana. She's from Chittoor. She has developed this bottle garden. What she did was waste bottles. She put some fenugreek seed and she started growing methi. That methi is delivered to all the homes, sold to the homes. One bottle can continuously give you methi, right? Fenugreek. And then there is another boy, Nitin Reddy. He has built a device which where a tree, when it is cut, it can talk, it can send a distress signal to the local authorities. And there are many such innovations which are happening here. One of my students is working on, working on creating an alternative to Vicks VapoRub, where no chemicals are used, using menthol, thymol, and other ingredients. So they're working on that. So that is why innovation in terms of curriculum, key skills, and the culture is why I wanted to share one of the case study as of innovations as a university. And next, I would like to move on as to this question, guys, where it arrives as to who will fund my innovation, right? A lot of people say, I mean, I have my own brothers who talk about. They say, Shazil bhai, kaisa kaun dete paisa, right? Because there is a lot of money required, right? So there is a lot of money required for team hiring. There is money required for legal and consulting services. Raw materials के लिए पैसा चाहिए, license certifications के लिए पैसा चाहिए, working capital चाहिए, marketing and sales के लिए पैसा चाहिए, office space चाहिए, etc. Right? For that, guys, the answer is the first and foremost, we have bootstrapping and self-financing startups, right? So what we can do is what I recommend is my students who came up with this project, they did self-funding. They said one person putting 100 rupees is difficult, right? 10 people putting 10 rupees makes the job easier, right? So this is like, group funding to bootstrap one particular startup. Then the government of India has, guys, many people are leveraging it. I don't know why. Many of my friends are, behind. So they actually, Startup India, it has created schemes and policies for, government services, for women entrepreneurs, for incubators, etc., where they give you incubation space, where they give you financing, where they give you money in order to run your operations, etc. Also, expert guidance. See, Karnataka Startup Mission actually is doing very well. They initially give you a 50,000 rupees when your idea gets selected, and then they give you space to work as incubation center, etc. So it's high time we can we can reach out to them. Apart from this, guys, we have alternative funding sources, right? See, these funding sources are, one is your angel investors. You need to, this is the reason why we need to, keep reading a lot. They are angel investors. They are top angels in India. See, for example, Ratan Tata is one of the top angels. Any startup which goes to him, if the idea is good and if his team gives a positive review, he immediately gives funding. I have seen personally almost 18 to 20 startups which I was associated with getting funding from Ratan Tata's association. Then we have your goals. Then we have your other angel investors. Then there is IAN, India Angel Network. Actually, they are into funding. I mean, I will cover this in detail as to who gives what funding and what is the criteria they use. And inshallah, in another session, because we have already crossed, my given time. I'm just trying to quickly sum up my talk as to who will fund my innovation, right? See, and then there are banks actually which are enabling services for you for business loan. See, all they ask, for example, I was telling you about this cycle shop person. This cycle shop person takes cycles from Udaan. He's doing his filings on time. His transactions, his books are clear. He's hired a CA online. See, CA is helping him in filing. His CA charges are hardly 5,000 a year, right? And this person got a loan from bank in order to enhance, make his business double. It's a small business. He had, he started leveraging, he started showing good books. So banks is another thing which we can work out. And then we have, venture capitalists, you have your Sequoia Ventures, your Axel Partners, your Matrix Partners, your KPMGs, your EYs, all these people, they put venture capital into companies, but they come at a very later stage. For them, they need to have a good product developed. They look at whether the validation is right, whether good number of customers are there, whether the growth market is right, what is the size of the market, many things. I mean, whatever they see, I will also cover that, inshallah, in the future sessions on the funding, right? And also, in case, you have only ideas, right? Only ideas, what you can do is you can write research papers, you can write papers for seeking grants, right? See, there are many government and non-government institutions. See, for example, IISc is giving grants. See, for example, Google.org is giving social impact grants. See, for example, your Global Innovation Fund is there. Global Innovation Fund, they give over, they give more than $200 US. They have committed to give more than $200 US in next 4 years. You have your OCHA, Humanitarian Research and Innovation Grant. Grants is a very easy way, guys, because in grant, you do not have the onus of returning is less, but the onus of delivery will become more because you have, in case if you want to reach out to a bigger level. So I'll give you one good example of that is that, Khan Academy. I'm sure many of you have heard about Khan Academy. See, you have your Byju's on one side. Byju is commercial in nature, right? You have your, Topper on the other side. You have your Merit Nation on the other side. All these companies, they are commercial in nature. They're selling their content. They're making their money, right? What Khan Academy did, they said they want to make quality content available, easy to use content available to people, right? And they got grants from no less than more than 7 impact funds. Oh, sorry, I was talking about impact fund. Social impact funds are there. Then we have Michael and Switzerland Foundation. Then we have Gates Foundation. Then we have Bosch Foundation. Then we have your Microsoft incubator. All these come to your help, guys. So once we have a product, good idea in space, once you come from the barriers of those fixed mindset, once you have achieved that, that good idea on the paper, as well as, a sizable prototype. In case if it's a big idea, you can seek for grants. Small idea, you can bootstrap and then use creative techniques to build upon it. So last but not the least, funding, as I said, it's a very lengthy topic. It would require a lot of time. I would seek from Brother Saifat other time. And there are many ways of protecting your innovation. Guys, protecting an invention is very easy. Whereas protecting an innovation is difficult. Like I said, ideas are actually, nobody's patent, right? So until unless you put that into action, it won't work. it won't remain yours. So how to protect? See, there are intellectual, there are many ways you can do trademarking. You can get those domains. You can get your file for patents. Do not file for patents very early, guys, without having a full-fledged clarity on the product. Because what happens is that in case if it gets rejected, someone slightly tweaks it and immediately applies for it. We have seen that a lot. And also, keeping your startup until it reaches its desired goal in stealth mode. That is also another way. So that is how Cred did it, and in stealth mode, and then they unleash their features, etc. There are many more things, many more ways which we can protect our innovation. I would like to, inshallah, talk about it in the future session if Brother Saif Abrar and team they give an opportunity. It was an absolute pleasure addressing this team over here. I hope I was able to add some value to the innovation thought process. What you have, and if there is any questions, if the host permits, I would be available to answer.
Jazakumullah, Shazil bhai. It was, I think, multiple sessions all rolled into one. It was so much informative, and you covered so many things. And I'd like to tell to the audience that Shazil bhai is such an expert on innovation that he can talk for hours without a presentation, without a slide set. So I have to request him especially that please do prepare some slides, and then you can talk. It will be more beneficial for the audience.
Sure.
So we have such an expert on innovation and different aspects on innovation. So if you have one or two questions, we can take, because it's a high time for Shazil bhai also. On a Sunday, he has given so much time for us.
Alhamdulillah, always there.
So any last question? So all the recording is already will be available inshallah soon. So I have shared the link also for the recording. So any one or two last questions you can have. Or if someone wants, they can reach out to Shazil bhai directly also. And inshallah, in future also, we will have further sessions by Shazil bhai on different aspects related to innovation. We need to accelerate our pace of innovation, definitely to make progress. So this is the only thing that we need to focus on. So Jazakumullah khair, Shazil bhai. It was
Thank you,
really
Brother Saif Abrar. Really appreciate
marathon
your
session for you. You have put in so much effort.
I'm an active participant, and my students are also active participants in your other sessions.
Oh,
we're very glad that you are organizing this. May Allah give you Jazak khair for this. Thank you very much, everybody. It was an honor, and it was really nice interacting and sharing information.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. Jazakumullah khair.